You're watching KSL Sports Live.
Thanks for watching KSL Sports, your home for football. And the next 45 minutes are packed with the best from the NFL, college football, and the high school football playoffs as well.
Yeah, we've got Stevenson Sylvester joining us as always, breaking down the Utes' dominant performance against Stanford, and Jamal Williams finding the end zone again. Locals in the NFL is on the way.
But we're going to start with hoops. We'll start in the NBA with the Utah Jazz. Through the first 14 games of the season, the Jazz are the only team in the Western Conference with 10 wins.
Yeah, the Jazz have built a winning team. Danny Ainge told Sports Illustrated this past week that he's been accused of building teams to lose before. He says that's never been true, though. Tonight, the Jazz could wrap up their three-game road trip with 2 wins on the East Coast. In Philadelphia, facing Joel Embiid and the 76ers. Lauri Markkanen, the Jazz leading scorer this season, he's averaging a career-high 22.2. He was doing some early scoring from downtown, a couple of first-quarter three-pointers for a 4-point Jazz lead. Kelly Olynyk is second in the NBA in three-point shooting percentage, but on this play, he's rocking the rim with the putback slam. Jazz up 19-17. Final seconds of the quarter, Jazz inbounds play ends with Malik Beasley beating the buzzer. Jazz with the 4-point advantage, 30-26 after 1. Rookie center Walker Kessler has averaged 15 minutes per game off the bench this season. He played the first 6 minutes of the second quarter and had a big impact. The block here is going to lead to transition buckets. Talen Horton-Tucker, 3. The Jazz are up by 9. Then one of his 7 first-half rebounds. He turns it over, but no worries. He just blocks Tyrese Maxey. And once again, this play is going to lead to transition points. Jordan Clarkson this time. The 3 ball from up top, and the Jazz are up 40-32. Kessler scored just 1 bucket in the half, but it was a pretty one. The offensive board and the reverse for the putback. But as the half wound down, Joel Embiid just kept knocking down shots. He had 24 points in the first half. Jazz still led by 6, 57-51. The Sixers erased that Jazz lead pretty quickly, though, and it was former Jazz man George Niang from downtown giving Philly the 4-point lead. Cue Malik Beasley. He found the hot touch in this quarter, burying a couple of threes. The second one, putting the Jazz back in front, 72-70. Beasley, 18 points through 3 quarters. Final seconds of the quarter, Kelly Olynyk, that bucket beats the buzzer. Game tied at 78 going into the fourth, but in that fourth quarter, it was a one-man show. Joel Embiid was already having an amazing game. He just piled on in the fourth, and he did it in every aspect of the game, blocking Jordan Clarkson there. Back at the other end, he hits the jumper. Then how about the offensive rebound, and he's going to put it back up and in. Philly taking a 91-88 lead right there. It was bucket after bucket after bucket for Embiid, though. And believe it or not, the Jazz were still in it. Just over a minute to play. Embiid blocks Colin Sexton to preserve the 3-point lead. Then the dagger. How's this for a stat line? A career-high 59 points, 19 of 28 shooting, 20 of 24 from the free throw line, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, 7 blocks. The Jazz dropped their second straight, 105-98.
The stat that bothers me the most is Philly had 14 block shots. That's a lot of poor spacing and poor decision-making.
The next opponent for the Utah Jazz is the New York
Moving up in the AP rankings after Saturday night's win, the Utes go up 3 spots to number 10 in the country. The 25th time Utah has been in the top 10 of an AP poll since Kyle Whittingham took over. Also some moving down by notable Pac-12 opponents. How about UCLA dropping 7 spots from 9th to 16th, and the Oregon Ducks down 6 spots to 12th in the nation. The Utes will be in Eugene this weekend, and so will KSL Sports Live with live reports from the Utes. All right, the table is set for the University of Utah. Can they finish off that meal, though? After beating Stanford last night at Rice-Eccles Stadium, the Utes have run their win streak now to 4 in a row. They're still in line for a spot in the Pac-12 championship game and potentially the Rose Bowl. They just have to keep winning, of course, right? Maybe it's easier said than done, but pretty good time of the year to get one of the nation's best running backs back to his top form. Tavion Thomas rushing for a career-high 180 yards to go with a pair of touchdowns and Utah's 42-7 win. Cam Rising completed 20 of 33 passes for 219 yards and 3 touchdowns. And for you fans, well, is that the last you see of him?
Cam, was this your last time playing in Rice-Eccles? Do you know?
I believe so, yes.
Oh my, another huge running lane up to the races. Thomas.
I was just so happy to be out there with my teammates and all the seniors. We all, wanted to be out there and perform for each other, play hard for each other. And I just worried about finishing this thing, and playing with these guys right here.
All right, we have to take a quick timeout. We have more NFL highlights on the way.
Yeah, and what did the Jazz think of Joel Embiid's career night? You'll hear what they said about that.
Defense played outstanding.
Yes, they did. We look back on a dominant defensive performance by the Utes. Stevenson Sylvester's going to break that down as they get ready for that monster game in Eugene on Saturday. That Pac-12 championship still very much in play. Hey, and the Aggies, they had some fun on the islands as well last night. We'll show you how they did.
Finau gets this birdie putt on the way.
Wow. Tony Finau's playing the best golf in the world right now. He dominated this weekend at the Houston Open, and the best from this weekend at the high school football state championships and playoffs. We get you all set for the 5A and 6A finals as well when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
You are watching KSL Sports Live.
Let's get back to college football. That's a much more interesting topic than the Broncos. The Utes made their final game at Rice-Eccles Stadium memorable, some of those seniors, with a 42-7 win over Stanford.
Yeah, dominant performance on senior night that has put the Utes once again in a position to reach that Pac-12 championship game. You really couldn't ask for a better time for Tavion Thomas to come back to his form. We saw it a little earlier in the show, but it's worth looking at again. He was one of the nation's best last season, had the game of his career last night, 180 yards rushing against Stanford on 22 carries, 2 touchdowns. It's been a roller coaster season for Thomas, filled with personal challenges off the field, but Thomas, he never gave up on himself.
It's been challenging, but you can't run from it. You got to attack it. And like I said, I got these great guys right here, and, great support system here, and they got me back right slowly but surely.
Tavion Thomas had a big game. It was great to see him in his last game here at Rice-Eccles get back to his old self, and that was something that really proud of him and glad that he's weathered the storm, I guess you could say.
The Utah defense had their best performance of the season, you could argue. 7 sacks are a season high. And for the 3rd time this season, the Utes held an opponent to under 200 yards of total offense. Just 177 yards for Stanford. And they held the Cardinal to just 22 yards rushing, -8 in the 3rd quarter. Jonah Ellis stepped up with 1.5 sacks, and Samote Pepa is breaking out. A team high and a career high, 6 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and his first 2 sacks.
It's honestly just doing our job. Early in the season, a lot of the mistakes that were happening is guys were trying to make the big play or just not doing their assignment. And the last few weeks, we've really just honed in. You do your assignment, the plays will come to you.
It was senior night at Rice-Eccles, the night that saw the Utes cap off a perfect season at home. Winners in all 6 home contests. Utah honored 17 players that are seniors or most likely played their last game at the U, including quarterback Cam Rising, Tavion Thomas, Clark Phillips III, Dalton Kincaid, and Brant Keithy, among others. A season and a night and a college football experience that these guys won't be forgetting.
Great experience, you know, coming here. I didn't really know what to expect, but I've definitely enjoyed every moment in that stadium. You know, the fans, the atmosphere has definitely been special. So, you know, it's been a fun ride with these guys, and we look forward to finishing it these next 3 weeks and taking what we came here to take. I said, great fan, great atmosphere out there, man, just unbelievable. And I've never been a part of nothing like that, so it's pretty awesome, man.
All right, Stevenson Sylvester joins us now as he does every week, and you're going to love this because we're going to talk about Utah's defense.
Oh, yeah.
Show us, Sly, what is different? Jonah kind of talked about that, but show us with video what's different about this Utah defense than earlier in the season when they were making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, what Jonah was talking about is the Utah mantra, right? Do your job, right? And they weren't doing that at the beginning of the season. They weren't trusting it. It's because they were missing the integral parts of Devin Lloyd, Nephi Sewell, which are your quarterbacks of a defense, right? Your main communicators. So at the beginning of the season, you know, I'm being on the sideline and what I'm seeing, I was like, these guys just aren't communicating well. And over the last 3 to 4 weeks, these guys have been communicating at a high level. It's been great. I think everybody's just understanding the role, as Jonah Ellis said. We're understanding our role and understanding that, look, we don't got to make every single play. We are a talented defense. We've got talented people across the board. And so somebody's going to make that play, and most likely it'll come back to me. So let me do my job, and I'll make the play anyway.
You're going to have to play big defense this weekend, but also, how nice is it for Utah to have Tavion Thomas back doing to what he did last season again, especially as they prepare for Oregon?
He looked fresh.
Yeah.
Tavion looked fresh. Tavion was awesome, and this is why we've been asking for Tavion all season. He's been running like a madman last week, and it was awesome, 180 yards. But here is just a basic run play. This is away zone. We've talked about it before, but what's great about this play is it's supposed to hit off here in the C gap. But Satoy Lamea does a great job of cutting off the D end here. And Tavion just reads it. He's like, pick your gap. Which one do you want to go to? Tavion hits the B gap and explodes through it. And what we've said many times about these run plays and why people have success is because they're decisive. Right? Tavion Thomas was decisive with his running plays, and that's what made it awesome. And so here's another time. Same exact play, same exact result, except he hits it on the front side, right? It's different. He just sees his holes and sees what he wants to do. So normally here, you know, the tight end's going to come back across the line of scrimmage, and we say you got to hit it off into the C gap here. But he's like, bump that. I see it on the front side. Let me take it. Decisive, hits it, and I tell you what, arm tackles ain't gonna do it against this guy.
No.
Right? Sees this B gap here, and it's just like, that's open for me, and I'll take it for 15. So having Tavion Thomas back is huge. If you can run the ball, as Coach Whittingham says, every single game, that's what we want to do, we'll have success.
Now, can he duplicate that effort in Eugene on Saturday? That would go a long way to Utah getting that big win against Oregon. Sly will be back with locals of the NFL here in a moment.
Hey, how about the Aggies? Utah State's game on Saturday night came to a close well past our bedtime. This was a conference matchup in Hawaii. That's why Cooper Legado had the best game of his career, passing for 238 yards and 3 touchdowns. Calvin Tyler went for 113 yards rushing and a touchdown. And the play that helped put the game away in the fourth quarter, Ike Larson, a 36-yard pick six, and Utah State improving to 5-5 on the season.
Saturday, the Jazz fell to the Wizards in the district on that day 32 years prior, November 12th, 1989. That was not the case in the Salt Palace. John Stockton had 16 assists, feeding the mailman for the dunks. The pair combined for 63 points. The mailman added 16 rebounds, sending the Bullets home with a 13-point loss.
No player in NBA history has had a 50-point game in which they also added 10 or more rebounds, 5 or more assists, and 5 or more blocks. That was until tonight, when Joel Embiid did exactly that in a win against the Utah Jazz. Embiid made 19 of 28 shots that he took from the field, and he sunk 20 of 24 free throws for a career-high 59 points. On top of that, he had 11 rebounds, 8 assists, and 7 blocks. 26 points, and 5 of those blocks all came in the fourth quarter alone. The Jazz still only lost the game by 5. It was a one-man show, a show the Jazz didn't know how to put an end to.
Trying to force him to the crowd. Obviously, he does a great job facing up, and he sees where the double team is coming from. And I think we a couple times put our hands in, and he got, when they were on the bonus, he got to free throw line too easily. Yeah, I mean, he had a great game, but you know, he took a lot of the shots. You know, there's only one ball.
Yes, there is. Now we're going to transition to high school football. The 6A and 5A semifinals took place Thursday and Friday at Rice-Eccles Stadium. The championship matchups are now set.
Yep, the Corner Canyon Chargers will take on the Skyridge Falcons Friday at 11 a.m. for the 6A championship, and then Lehigh will face Timpview for the 5A title at 2:30.
Let's show you how we got there. The first 6A semifinal Thursday, Farmington and Corner Canyon. The Phoenix took the lead in the third quarter when Dante Coates caught the tip ball in the end zone, but the upset bid fell short. The Chargers special teams would carry him to a victory after that. An 87-yard return on the ensuing kickoff by sophomore Brighton Brady, and then Owen Borg, the BYU commit, blocked a punt and returned it for himself for a touchdown. The Chargers are in a championship game for the 5th straight year.
The other semifinal was between Skyridge and Bingham. Skyridge defensive back Smith Snowden got things going with a 92-yard pick six, and the Falcons never trailed. La'akea Kalama was very impressive, made every defender miss on this 45-yard touchdown. And then quarterback McKay Hillstead, he returned from injury and threw a pair of touchdowns. Skyridge gets another shot at Corner Canyon after losing to them in region play.
Now to 5A, crosstown rivalry in the 5A semifinals. Orem and Timpview. The Thunderbirds running back Micah Beckstead was unstoppable. 188 yards rushing, 4 total touchdowns, 3 of them coming in the second half. He rushed for 3 and ran in a screen pass for the other. Kazan Villa added a pair of touchdowns, won a 92-yard kickoff return. Timpview is seeking their first state title since 2014 when Britton Covey was their quarterback.
Both Stansbury and Lehigh entered the other 5A semifinal game undefeated, but it was the defending champion Pioneers who remained perfect. Cadian Sweat with the interception on the first play of the game. He had 2 of those in the first quarter. Jackson Brousseau threw for 4 touchdowns, 2 to Makahavea. And Lehigh will defend their title at Rice-Eccles, seeking their 3rd in the last 6 years.
All right, each week on KSL Sports Live, we recognize a former Utah high school sports star who's now making big plays in college. It's Hometown Heroes, sponsored by Brent Brown Toyota. And this week, we select Utah defensive tackle Samote Pepa. This is what he did on Saturday in the Utes' 42.
For the win. Hey, let's look back at the championship weekend that we had. How about the 4A championship settled between 2 rivals, Desert Hills and Crimson Cliffs? Desert Hills lost to Crimson Cliffs back in week 4 of the regular season by 1 touchdown. It was a different story on Friday. The Thunder winning the 4A title 30-14, their 3rd football title in school history.
Juab and Morgan entered the 3A championship game undefeated at 12-0. It was clear who the best team was after it was over. Morgan quarterback Nick Despain threw for 371 yards and 6 touchdowns, 547 yards of total offense for Morgan. The Trojans defense held Juab, a team that averaged 48 points per game this season, out of the end zone. Morgan wins 55-3 to claim their 2nd title in 4 years.
Making back-to-back championships in Class 2A for the San Juan Broncos. They beat the Beavers 41-21 behind 5 total touchdowns from Parker Snyder, 3 rushing, 2 passing. In the process, the San Juan has now run its win streak to 25 straight games dating back to week 2 of last season.
And how about Layton Christian? They were 1-9 2 years ago. Now they are 1A state champions. Malik Johnson scored 3 touchdowns, 2 receiving, and 1 on a punt return. The Eagles win their first football state championship in school history with a 55-19 win over a really good Kanab team.
The debut of 8-player football in our state was a success, and it culminated in the most exciting championship game of the weekend. It took a late-game trick play for Gunnison Valley to knock off Monticello 26-22. It was a double pass that went for 50 yards and the score. Gunnison's first ever state championship in football.
Great stuff. Congratulations to all the champions. All right, every highlight reel this year on Game Night Live has been electric, but when it features games at Rice Eccles Stadium, it just hits different.
Totally does, and there was plenty of great moments as well down at Utah Tech that make this version of the highlight reel must-see TV.
Sports.com and the KSL TV app.
But before we move forward, we want to take a look back at the top 5 plays from this weekend.
Here is number 5. You're going to see a lot of Farmington. They earned it. This is the defense picking off Isaac Wilson. At Rice Eccles Stadium last week. Now we get to do it all again on Friday with the 5A and 6A championships. We'll see you on KSLSports.com.